At my birthday party, my girlfriend, Candy, lost a game of dares and had to kiss a guy. Before our lips could even touch, Preston Vance shoved me aside and kissed her himself. Oops, Candy said, feigning anger. You know, today is your buddy's birthday. She playfully tapped him on the chest. Everyone stared at me, sprawled on the sofa where he'd pushed me, holding their breath. Preston just laughed, completely unconcerned. Hey, don't get bent out of shape, buddy. Candy and I have shared everything since we were kids. Candy chimed in, trying to placate me. It was just a dare, Sonny. Don't be such a bad sport. Everyone expected me to explode, but instead, I just took off my engagement ring, walked over to Preston, and slid it onto his finger. Send me an invitation to the wedding. Candy, you taste so sweet. What have you been eating? Preston's suggestive voice filled the private room. Candy, who had been looking at him with a playful pout, finally noticed the dead silence, and her gaze fell on me, still on the sofa. She pulled away from Preston and tapped his chest again, pretending to be annoyed. Hey, today is your friend's birthday, you know. Preston just shrugged, completely indifferent. What? We're all guys here. He can't be that much of a sore loser, can he? It was just a dare. His words hung in the air, and no one dared to make a sound. This wasn't some minor penalty like a slap on the wrist or a flick on the forehead. It was a kiss. A few people were already cringing, expecting me to start a huge fight like I always did. But this time, I just slowly removed my engagement ring, walked over to Preston, and put it on his finger. It was a surprisingly perfect fit. I smiled. Send me an invitation to the wedding. Everyone, including Preston, stared in stunned silence. Sonny, it was just a game. Are you really going to be this dramatic? Candy's voice was icy. I know, I said with a small smile. Aren't I just helping you two have a better time? I could see the color draining from Candy's face. Preston patted her on the head. Okay, my bad. I didn't realize your boyfriend was such a bad sport. He pulled the ring off and tossed it at me. Here, don't be mad. I'm giving it back. It didn't mean anything. The ring hit me squarely in the face before clattering to the floor. The room was silent, everyone staring at me with wide eyes. I just bent down, picked it up, and said, well, if you don't want it, then I guess it's useless. With that, I tossed the ring into the trash can. Sonny, are you insane? That's your engagement ring with Candy, someone shouted. Hurry up, get it out of there. Where did it go? I can't find it. People started frantically digging through the trash, but it was a disgusting mess of discarded fruit peels and even what looked like vomit. Finding a tiny ring in there was impossible. Preston was stunned too, turning to Candy. Candy, why is he reacting like this? Did I really go too far? But we've always been like this. In the next instant, Candy grabbed his hand and pulled him close. Stop looking for it, she yelled. Everyone froze, turning from the trash can look at her. Her glare was so cold it felt like it could burn a hole right through me. If you can't handle the game, why did you agree to play? She demanded. Now you've ruined the mood for everyone. Are you happy now? The accusation left me breathless. Preston kissed my girlfriend. I tried to let go, and somehow I was the one making everyone unhappy. In the past, I would have been screaming, pointing out that Preston was the one who crossed the line. But now I just didn't have the energy for it anymore. Instead, I turned to leave. I'm heading out. You guys have fun. As the door closed behind me, I heard someone ask timidly, but it's Sonny's birthday. Shouldn't we stop him? Candy's voice cut through, sharp with impatience. Just leave him. He needs to get over that temper of his. Anyway, Preston was just hired as a lecturer at the university, so let's have him blow out the candles instead. The room quickly filled with noise again. The chorus of Happy Birthday, Sonny was replaced with congratulations on the new job, Preston. I felt something cool on my cheeks. I wiped my face. I hadn't even realized I was crying. But I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel anything at all. Growing up in the faculty housing, I'd had a crush on Candy, the resident genius, for as long as I could remember. I was too awkward to ever fit in with her and her friends, so I just watched from my window as she and Preston chased each other around the campus green. I studied like my life depended on it, and I'd feel a thrill every time I saw our names next to each other on the academic rankings. But I didn't have Preston's easy charm, so Candy and I remained nothing more than polite acquaintances. It wasn't until we both got into the same university and Preston went off to a state school and got a girlfriend that I finally found the courage to tell her how I felt. And miraculously, she said yes. From that day on, every decision I made revolved around her. When she decided to take a teaching position at our university, I turned down a research fellowship abroad. My advisor, Professor Davis, tried to change my mind, telling me about former students who are now tenured professors and leading scholars, but I just told him all I want is a quiet, stable life with her. I gave her everything, wanting nothing in return but her, but she never seemed to consider my feelings. Standing in the cold night air, I let out a long breath and made a call to Professor Davis. "Professor," I said, "about that project you mentioned before. Are you still looking for people?" He was surprised for a second, then his voice warmed up. "Sonny, my boy, you've finally seen the light. Of course we still need you. This project was made for you. Your colleague Zoe has been pestering me about it, but I held the spot. When can you get here? I'll meet you at the airport myself." I managed a small smile. "Give me 2 weeks, Professor. I just need to get my things in order here, and then I'll be on my way." I didn't leave right away, but I spent some time learning the details of the project. There was a significant time difference with Ireland. By the time we hung up, the sun was setting there. Here, it was already past midnight. My head felt heavy and clouded. I drew a hot bath, and as I sank into the water, I felt the tension drain from my body. Exhaustion washed over me, and with some soft music playing, I drifted off to sleep right there in the tub. I woke up to the sound of the front door opening. "Sonny," it was Candy. I heard her voice call out from each room, growing more frantic with each one. Finally, the bathroom door swung open. "Sonny," she said, her voice low and heavy. Her eyes held a hint of accusation, though I had no idea what she could possibly be angry about. Was she mad that I wasn't waiting for her in the living room, ready to start a fight about her and Preston like I always did? "Oh, you're back," I said. "Sorry, I must have dozed off. I didn't hear you come in." I held onto the side of the tub and looked at her. "Could you give me a minute, please?" My tone was polite but distant. She frowned. She pinched the bridge of her nose, looking exhausted. "The reason I'm so late is that Preston got drunk. His ex had been harassing him, and I had to—" "I know, I cut in. You were helping him put on an act." She stared at me, surprised. I gave a small, humorless laugh. "You're not angry?" she asked. I laughed again, a little louder this time. "What's there to be angry about? You two grew up together. It's only natural you'd help each other out." For a second, Candy looked at me with utter disbelief. I waited, but she just stood there, so I stood up and reached for a towel. It wasn't like we hadn't seen each other naked before, but for the first time, I felt a pang of self-consciousness. I wrapped the towel around my waist and turned to leave the bathroom. She grabbed my wrist, stopping me. "Sonny, if you have something to say, just say it." I paused. "What is there to say?" She hesitated. "Don't you? You usually have plenty to say." I thought about it. She was right. In every fight we'd ever had about Preston, I was the one who would argue relentlessly, never letting it go. But I was starting to realize that you only lose control like that when you're desperately in love. I didn't feel that way anymore. So, naturally, I had nothing left to say. I gently removed her hand from my wrist. "Let's not do this. It's after 2 in the morning, and I have to be in the lab tomorrow." Her hand hovered in the air where I had pushed it away. I yawned. "You should get some rest too. I'm going to bed. Good night." And with that, I climbed into bed and closed my eyes. For a moment, there was only silence from the other room. Then, a loud slam of the front door jolted me awake. It was Candy. She had stormed out. I knew exactly what she was angry about. For once, she had given me an opening to start a fight, and I hadn't taken it. I slept soundly. The next morning, I was about to order some food when I walked into the kitchen and saw a birthday cake on the table. Candy was sitting there. "Happy belated birthday, Sonny." I froze, my thumb hovering over the confirm payment button on my phone. "I know you were upset about yesterday," she began, "and we really couldn't find a ring." She slid her phone across the table towards me with her long, elegant fingers. "You picked out the last ring, but since I'm the one who lost it, let me get the new one, okay? Consider my apology. Preston can be immature, so please don't hold it against him. I know a kiss is a big deal, but he's always been reckless, and you—" "Wow, you even got me a custom cake." I interrupted. "Thank you." My sudden change of subject cut her off completely. She stared at me, dumbfounded. "Sonny," I leaned over the cake, reading the icing. "Wishing my love a happy day." "That's so sweet." "Thank you, I love it." She frowned. "Sonny," I was getting out plates and a knife. I looked up. "Yes." She looked down. "It's nothing." My voice was bright and cheerful. "This is from the best bakery in the city. I can never get a cake from them. You must have put in a lot of effort." She just mumbled a soft lost in her own thoughts. "Sonny, about the ring." "Here," I said, cutting a slice. "This is a small piece for you, so you can finish it. Don't let it go to waste." I set the smaller slice in front of her. Then I took a bite from my own, larger piece. "Is this a new flavor?" It's delicious. Sonny, she said, her brow furrowed. Will you please look at what I'm trying to show you? I glanced down. Her phone was open to the Cartier website, on a page for men's rings. My hand twitched. I couldn't begin to imagine how ecstatic I would have been if she'd shown this to me just a day sooner. But now all I did was take another bite of my favorite cake. No, thanks. They're overpriced and a hassle. Sonny, Candy stared at me as if I were speaking another language. I smiled. Seriously, I don't care about that stuff anymore. Don't waste your money. The cake was more than enough to make me happy. I finished my slice and put the empty plate on the table. I have a meeting this morning, so I need to head out early. Remember to put your plate in the dishwasher. Then I went into the bedroom to get changed. I heard the sharp scrape of a chair being pushed back. I turned to see Candy snatching her phone off the table. Fine, I'll just order one for Preston. He actually cares about things like this. And with that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. She hadn't touched her piece of cake. I didn't see her on campus for the next few days. Wow, that's gorgeous. The cut on that is incredible. And a girl bought it for you, Preston. A woman who buys you Cartier is a keeper, man. You should lock that down. I walked into my office to find a group of colleagues fawning over something. That's beautiful, Preston. The craftsmanship is exquisite, one of them was saying. And a woman bought it for you. Man, when you find a girl who buys you Cartier, you marry her, another one joked. They were all crowded around Preston, laughing and joking. I glanced over and saw it, a classic Cartier ring on his finger. I'd heard that particular design was supposed to symbolize a love that lasts forever. Haha, it's just a gift from a friend, guys. Don't get any crazy ideas, Preston said, laughing it off. He was smiling, but I saw his eyes flick over to Candy, who was sitting quietly at her desk. Then he noticed me, and his eyes went wide in mock surprise. Oh, Sonny, when did you get here? Hey, just so you know, Candy didn't give me this ring. Don't get the wrong idea. He had made eye contact with me the second I walked in, then pretended he hadn't, raising his hand to show off the ring while he joked with everyone else. The incident at my birthday party was still fresh in everyone's minds, so all eyes in the room turned to me. I felt Candy's gaze on me as well. I walked over to Preston and took his hand, lifting it to get a better look at the ring. It's nice, I said. Your girlfriend has great taste. Preston looked momentarily stunned. Candy, who had been taking a sip of water, paused mid-drink. Our colleagues exchanged confused glances for a second before someone broke the silence with a laugh. Well, Sonny has high standards. If he says it's nice, she must be a keeper. Preston. Someone tugged on the speaker's sleeve, but he just whispered, what's the big deal? If Candy had bought it, Sonny would have lost his mind by now. Preston must have a new girlfriend. There's no other way Sonny would be this calm about it. A wave of realization washed over the group. When did you get a girlfriend, Preston? You kept that quiet. You're already wearing rings. So, when's the wedding? She must be loaded. That ring isn't cheap. Let me see that again. The design is perfect. Amid the chorus of compliments, Preston's lips curved into a smirk as he looked directly at me. I don't even know how she picked it. I just mentioned offhand that I liked it, and the next thing I knew, she'd bought it for me. I never expected it. Take it off. The command was abrupt, cutting him off. Preston froze, his eyes darting to Candy. Candy. Candy stood up, gathering the notes for her undergraduate lecture. It's an ugly design, and you're parading it around every office like a trophy. How embarrassing. Preston looked stunned, a wounded expression on his face. Candy, she paid him no mind. Instead, she shot me a look loaded with meaning. And Professor Hayes, she said, your taste could use some work too. And she walked out of the room. I had no idea what had set her off this time. I complimented the ring she bought. So why was she the one who was angry? After my lecture, I got an iMessage from Candy. Let's get dinner tonight. It seemed she'd finally realized something was wrong. That was fine because I had a few things to say to her too. Okay, I typed back. I'll head over after I finish up in the lab. I rushed through my experiment to make sure I could meet her by 7. But when I went to leave, the lab door was locked. That was strange. The labs weren't supposed to be locked until after the 11 o'clock security check, and it wasn't even 7 yet. My phone was in my locker out in the hallway, so I couldn't call anyone. The lab was on the 8th floor, so climbing out wasn't an option. Luckily, I heard someone walking by, and I started pounding on the door. The lab was well soundproofed, and it took all my strength, but I finally got the person's attention. When I saw who it was, though, my heart sank. It was Zoe, my junior colleague from the department. She had been desperate to get on Professor Davis's project in Ireland, but he had chosen me instead of her. She hadn't been my biggest fan lately. I mouthed through the glass, tried to explain that I was locked in. She just shook her head and walked away. My stomach dropped. Did Candy even know where I was? I had to get out of here. I looked around for something to break the lock, but everything in the lab was worth a fortune, and I couldn't bring myself to destroy it. Defeated, I slumped down with my back against the door. Suddenly, I heard a click from the lock behind me. I scrambled to my feet. Zoe was standing in the doorway, dangling a key. Professor Vance, the one with the master key, had already left for the day, she said. I had to go through security and fill out a bunch of forms. Took a while. Hope you weren't too freaked out. You still here, stunned. Professor Vance. You mean Preston Vance? Zoe twirled the key on her finger and scoffed. Who else? I hesitated. Thank you, Zoe. Listen, I'm in a hurry right now, but let me buy you dinner sometime. About the Ireland project. If you're about to apologize, don't bother, she cut me off. She turned and walked away, giving a little wave over her shoulder. I'll be better than you one day, Sonny. By the time I got out, it was already 7:30. I raced to the restaurant, and in my hurry, I tripped on the stairs and scraped my knee open. A waiter helped me over to our table, but there was already a couple sitting there. I'm sorry, sir, the waiter said. Are you sure this is your table? This reservation was made by this couple some time ago. I stood there confused. Just then, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a new Facebook post from Preston. Thanks for the amazing birthday surprise, babe. All is forgiven. The photo showed a massive 5-tiered cake. Preston was in the center, surrounded by a dozen friends, setting off party poppers that showered him in confetti. He had his arm wrapped around someone, but their face was covered with a cat emoji sticker. But I recognized her anyway. It was Candy. I glanced at the date on my phone. Oh, right. It was Preston's birthday. Sir, would you like me to find you another table? The waiter asked. My knee was throbbing. I shook my head. No, thanks. Can you just tell me where the nearest urgent care is? I didn't call Candy. My knee was a mess, and the clinic was crowded. By the time they finally cleaned and bandaged it, it was late. It was after midnight when I finally got home. I opened the door to a dark apartment and jumped when I saw a figure sitting on the couch. I flipped on the light, my heart still pounding. Candy? Why are you sitting in the dark? She looked up at me. Her eyes were red and bloodshot. Sonny, it's almost 3 a.m. Yeah, I said. Had to work late. She hesitated for a moment, then said, as if testing the waters, I missed our dinner. I know, I replied. It's fine. I took off my coat. You were pretty harsh on him in the office. You obviously had to find a way to make it up to him. His birthday was the perfect chance. Suddenly, she grabbed my hand. She was still sitting, but she looked up at me, her grip tight. Actually, she said, his party isn't over yet. I didn't know what she meant. I left early to come home. I blinked. Why? Her grip on my hand tightened. I kept waiting for you to call me. I was speechless for a moment. I tried to pull my hand away, but she held on tight, making it a struggle. It's fine, I said finally. I trust you. As I kicked off my shoes and started to change, her eyes followed me. You're not angry? She asked. No, I said, my voice flat. I'm not angry. Sonny, it might have been my imagination, but her voice sounded like it was trembling. I cut her off. Candy, can we just talk about this tomorrow? I gave her a tired smile. I am exhausted. We can talk for as long as you want tomorrow. With that, I went into the bedroom. She never came in, not even after I had fallen asleep. But this time, I didn't hear the front door slam. She was already gone when I woke up the next morning. She wasn't in her office either. Apparently, she had an early lab section to supervise. That afternoon, I sent her an iMessage. Is Preston busy tonight? Let's get dinner. There's something I need to tell you. Before I could hit send, my office door flew open. Sonny, where did you hide my fountain pen? Preston stormed in, grabbing me by the collar of my shirt and nearly yanking me out of my chair. Our colleagues rushed over. Preston, calm down. His eyes were suddenly red-rimmed. I'm sorry, he stammered. But that pen, it was my grandfather's. It's the only thing I have left of him. Sonny, if you wanted to look at it, that's fine, but please, just tell me where it is. Your grandfather's pen? I was confused. Preston's grandfather had been a renowned physicist, a giant in his field. The pen was the only thing he had left his grandson, a symbolic passing of the torch. I had immense respect for the man. I would never steal something so important. I left it in the lab yesterday, Preston said, his voice thick with emotion. I forgot to grab it on my way out. You were the only one in there after me, Sonny. I'll never speak to Candy again. I swear, he pleaded. Just give me back my grandfather's pen. Then he dropped to his knees in front of me, his eyes red and his jaw clenched. Every eye in the room was on me. It was no secret how many fights Candy and I had had over Preston. Professor Morgan, Maybe you should say something, someone suggested over Preston's quiet sobs. I looked up and saw Candy standing in the doorway. Sonny, just give it back to him, she said softly. If you want one, I'll buy you a new one. She held her phone out to me. You know the password. Pick anything you want. It doesn't have to be a pen. I looked from her phone back to her face and let out a short, bitter laugh. What is this supposed to mean? She wouldn't meet my eyes. That pen is just really important to him. I'm not blaming you. I know things have been hard on you lately. It's understandable you'd act out. I gave a weary smile. After all this time, you really don't know what kind of person I am. She didn't answer. Preston was still on the floor, occasionally letting out a sob and glancing up at me. A murmur of sympathy went through the room. He must be really heartbroken to cry like that. It was his grandfather's, after all. Yeah, whoever has it should just give it back. What are you crying for? A sharp voice cut through the noise. You're the one who locked him in the lab, and now you're blaming him for taking your pen? Why didn't you leave it in your locker instead of the lab? Can't keep track of your own stuff. The unexpected rebuke stopped Preston's tears cold. I turned to see Zoe leaning against the doorframe, sipping an iced coffee. Our colleagues stared at her. Zoe, what are you talking about? She tossed a flash drive onto the table. It's the security footage from the lab last night. I had IT recover the deleted portion. Let's all watch how Professor Vance waited for Sonny to go inside before he locked the door. Preston snatched the drive off the table, clutching it in his fist. Zoe, there's no need for that. Zoe just smiled. What's the matter, Preston? Scared. In a flash, she grabbed the drive from him and plugged it into the nearest computer. The drive's contents popped up on the screen, just a few folders with lab data and lesson plans. There was no video file. You tricked me. Preston's eyes were wide with shock. Zoe let out a cold laugh. Why would you be scared if you hadn't done anything wrong? You. Preston turned to Candy, his voice pleading. Candy. But for the first time, Candy, who always took his side, was looking at him with a deep frown. Preston's breathing grew ragged. He clenched his jaw and fled from the room. Only then did my eyes meet hers. Sonny, she started. I offered a small smile. You don't have to say anything. I get it. He's a childhood friend. It's hard to believe he'd do something like that. I don't blame you. She seemed taken aback. Let's get that dinner tonight, Professor Morgan, I said, my voice gentle. Do you have plans with Preston? If so, no. She cut in, her voice firm. Her answer was so sharp it surprised me. I smiled. All right then. 7 o'clock. I'll make a reservation. Can we just eat at home? She asked, looking at me earnestly. I didn't mind either way. Sure. I can pick up the groceries. No, I'll take care of it, she insisted. I didn't argue. That evening, the moment I opened the apartment door, a hand grabbed my arm. Oh my goodness. Look how big Sonny has gotten. And so handsome, a woman's voice exclaimed. Honey, come look. I stared, completely stunned, as Candy's parents came into view. I shot a questioning look at Candy. She walked over and leaned against me. I thought it was time we told my parents, she whispered. They were bound to find out we were engaged eventually. As soon as the words were out of her mouth, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan were beaming. So when's the wedding? Do you want to have it here or back in your hometown, Sonny? We could even do 2 ceremonies if you'd like. Whatever I had planned to say was swept away by their infectious enthusiasm. I looked at Candy, who was smiling warmly. She pulled out a small, velvet box. Inside was a new engagement ring, a different brand, but the exact style I'd always loved. She had it made for me? I instinctively pulled my hand back. Mr. and Mrs. Morgan's smiles faltered. They looked from their daughter to me, confused. What's wrong? Did you two not talk about this? The joy in their eyes faded, replaced by a look of pitiful confusion. I might have been done with Candy, but our families had been friends for decades. Her parents had always been kind to me, and after we started dating, they had been incredibly generous. The Patek Philippe watch sitting in my dresser drawer was a gift from them. No, it's not that, I said quickly. I haven't washed my hands. I just got back from the lab. Oh, don't be silly. That doesn't matter at all. Mrs. Morgan's smile returned, and she took my hand. Candy's eyes crinkled in a smile as she took my hand from her mother's and gently slid the ring onto my finger. I noticed she was already wearing the matching women's ring. Her parents pressed 2 thick envelopes into my hand. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, I said with a smile. Her father chuckled. Still Mr. and Mrs. Morgan? I think it's time for a change, don't you? I smiled and looked down. Thank you, Mom and Dad. In that instant, I felt Candy relax beside me, letting out a breath she'd been holding. Her father was ecstatic. I have to call your father. Tell him my daughter finally snagged his boy. Oh, stop it, you, his wife scolded, though her eyes were crinkled with laughter. The next day, Candy and I saw her parents off at the airport. As we watched their plane take off, I spoke quietly. Candy, I'm leaving too. She nodded. Back to campus? I can give you a ride. I moved aside, avoiding her outstretched hand. No, I'm leaving for good. I'm going to Ireland. Her hand froze in midair. Professor Davis has that research project. He needs me there. It took her a moment to process my words. When did this happen? Why didn't I know? I decided on my birthday. In that instant, something clicked in her eyes, and she finally seemed to understand. Her hands clenched into fists. Was it after you left the party? She asked, her voice trembling. I just nodded. Her fists were shaking. She took a deep, shuddering breath. When will you be back? 2 or 3 years, maybe. 2 or 3 years, she murmured to herself. That's not so long. I can wait for you. Or if you like it in Ireland, I could. Candy, I interrupted. What I mean is, we're breaking up. The wind whipped my hair across my face, and I saw her eyes glisten with tears. We were standing only a few feet apart, and I could hear the tremor in her breath. But we just got engaged, in front of my parents. I know. I gave her a gentle smile and took the apartment key out of my bag. I took her hand and placed the key in her palm. Here's the key. When you get home, look under the shoe rack. The envelopes your parents gave me are there. The engagement ring, too. I'm not giving them back because I'm angry with you. It's just that the romantic part of our relationship is over. I've already packed up most of my things from the apartment. You can do whatever you want with what's left. I won't be back. Goodbye, Candy. I hope you make full professor soon. I gave her hand a final pat, then turned and walked away. I didn't go back to the apartment. I got a hotel room for my last 3 days in the country and finished handing off my work at the university. On my last day on campus, I heard something unexpected. Candy had also applied for the research project in Ireland. With her credentials, she was already on track for a full professorship. She didn't need to pad her resume by going abroad. In fact, leaving for a few years might mean missing an opportunity for a tenured position when she got back. It didn't make any sense. Sonny, a file appeared over my shoulder and was handed to the department administrator. I turned. It was Candy. She gave me a small smile. Looking forward to working with you. The administrator, a young grad student, clasped her hands together dreamily. Oh, how romantic. You're going abroad together. I'm sorry, I said, cutting through her fantasy. But I'm afraid I won't be in a position to offer Professor Morgan any guidance. My words snapped the student out of her daydream. Candy flinched. I kept my tone polite and even. Our research is in different fields. Once we're in Ireland, we'll each be sticking to our own work. The student looked from me to Candy, confused. But you two are. I smiled faintly. We broke up. Her jaw dropped. I looked back at Candy. But I do wish Professor Morgan the best of luck with her research in Ireland. I turned to go, but she grabbed my wrist. She was trying to keep her voice steady, but I could hear the sob catching in her throat. You really don't care at all anymore, do you? I gently removed her hand from my arm. Candy, stop. We're on campus. Her voice suddenly rose, sharp and desperate. Sonny, what happened to you? Where's the guy who used to care so much? I was taken aback. It was true. I used to be so possessive, I practically wanted to install a tracking device on her, demanding to know where she'd been if she was even an hour late. She had called me out on it more than once. I'm your girlfriend. I'm not your property. Why you have to control everything I do? She'd yell. You're just paranoid about me and Preston. We've known each other our whole lives. If something was going to happen between us, it would have happened long before you came along. I sighed and turned back to face her, looking her straight in the eye. Candy, wasn't this what you always wanted? For me to stop controlling you? I asked. Well, I'm not controlling you anymore. What else do you want from me? For the first time, I saw tears welling up in her eyes. Just then, a figure burst into the office. Candy, you can't go to Ireland. It was Preston, his eyes red, and he threw his arms around Candy. You can't go. What am I supposed to do if you leave? You promised you'd never leave me. The poor administrator just stared, her mouth agape. Candy, who was always so careful about her professional image, was standing in the middle of the office with tears in her eyes, looking at me. Sonny, she asked, do you want me to go, or do you want me to stay? It was ironic. The same woman who used to scream, "They're my decisions to make. Stop trying to control my life," was now asking me to make a choice for her. I paused for a second, then smiled. That's your decision, Professor Morgan. Go if you want to, don't if you don't. It all depends on what you want for your career. Whatever you decide, I hope it's a choice you can live with. With that, I turned and walked away. I'd only taken a few steps when I heard her scream my name from behind me. Sonny. I just walked faster. Her voice faded behind me, but I could just make out her impatient words to Preston. Let go of me. You're so annoying. Candy didn't contact me again before I left the country. But her Facebook page, which had been dormant for months, suddenly became active. One morning, she posted our graduation photo with the caption, "Missing the old days." That afternoon, it was a close-up shot of our hands, showing our engagement rings. Finally, she posted a status that just said, "I miss you, Sunny Hayes." As I expected, the privacy setting was only me. I scrolled right past it and left a comment on a post from Zoe about her latest lab results. Great work. The night before my flight, I got a frantic phone call from one of my colleagues. Sunny, you have to get to the hospital. There was an explosion in Candy's lab. She's hurt, but she's refusing treatment. She says she won't let them do anything until she sees you. I was shocked. Candy was famous for her rigorous lab safety standards. I'd seen her chew out a grad student for putting a beaker in the wrong place. How could she have had an accident this serious? What had she have possibly been distracted by? When I arrived at the hospital, Candy's eyes were bandaged, and she was thrashing around in the bed, her hands grasping at the empty air. "Where's Sunny?" she cried. "I have to see him. Get away from me. Don't touch me." Preston was beside her, tears streaming down his face. "Candy, he's not here. Please, let me take care of you. The doctor said the flash damaged your eyes. You need treatment right away. Please, just forget about him. I'm begging you." The second he touched her, she violently flung his hand away. "Go away," she shrieked, clinging to the bed rail. "Get out. Sunny hates seeing you with me. He'll get the wrong idea. You can't be here. Go." "Candy." Preston's voice broke. "Candy," I said calmly from the doorway. In an instant, she went completely still. "Sunny." She tried to get out of bed and nearly collapsed. Preston rushed to help her, but she shoved him away. She stumbled towards the sound of my voice until her hands found my face. The bandages over her eyes immediately grew dark with tears. "It's you," she whispered. "You came." She threw her arms around me, and I could feel her whole body shaking. "Don't go, Sunny," she sobbed into my chest. "I was wrong. Please don't leave me." I didn't move. "The doctor said you're not supposed to cry." She immediately bit her lip, trying to stop, as obedient as a small child. She clutched my hand tightly, but I gently pried her fingers off. "My flight leaves in an hour," I said. "You wanted to see me, and I'm here. Now, will you please let the doctors treat you?" A shuddering breath escaped her, and fresh tears soaked through her bandages. A doctor rushed in. "What's happening in here? You need to leave now. She can't be crying like this." Nurses started ushering me out of the room, putting more and more distance between us. Her screams grew louder. "No, don't let him leave. You can't make him go. Sunny." I just watched. Preston tried to get between her and the door, but she shoved him so hard he stumbled backward, hitting his head on the corner of a planter and collapsing to the floor in a pool of blood. I turned and walked, step by step, toward the exit. Outside, the sky was a brilliant cloudless blue. It was time for me to start my new journey. "Sunny, we're going to miss our flight." The familiar voice made me stop. I turned to see Zoe standing there with her suitcase, raising her iced coffee in a small salute. I smiled. "Fancy meeting you here." She lifted her chin, a hint of a smirk on her face. "It took a lot of paperwork to get assigned to the same project as you in Ireland. Now let's go. We're wasting time." I watched her hurry toward the gate, then shook my head with a small, weary smile and followed her.